Everybody, welcome back to Mohawk Motors. My name is Jason. You can see I've got the K5 in the workshop. I've got the 6-liter and the 4L80 for the K5 cleaned up and ready to be snuck into position. But if you're here for that content, that is not what this video is about. I apologize. I know you're excited, and I promise the next video we're getting back onto it. But this video is actually targeted to help my friends and fellow LS and GMT 800 enthusiasts in a nearby state. And I really want to help you guys, and I think I can help all of you. I want to try to be very careful about how I say things in this one, because I don't want anybody to misinterpret anything that I say. So let's talk about something that has happened recently, and then I want to educate you a little bit on what I know about that place and what I have learned about their systems and laws, and how I can try to help you. All right, so if you've been following the channel, if you're already a subscriber, you know that I live in Pennsylvania now. We have annual inspection here. Every year they check the vehicles to make sure everything is safe, right, that you're not gonna cause an accident or get hurt if you are in an accident or anything like that. And I appreciate that, I really like that. Some parts of Pennsylvania do emissions testing as well. Where I live, they don't do that. So what I have seen a lot of traffic in forums and a lot of talk about recently is there's another state that I have a lot of experience with, and they have recently changed some of their laws that will require vehicles that previously were not required to pass a safety inspection or an emissions test. Those vehicles now will need to pass a safety inspection and an emissions test. And it's a pretty vast change. It's going to impact a lot of vehicles. It basically will impact all the vehicles from 2000 model year to 2005 model year that are currently registered in that state. Those vehicles, a lot of them probably were not required to pass a safety inspection and an emissions inspection before these laws were changed, and now they will. And that's what I see people concerned about, worried about, and honestly worried that they're not going to be able to have their vehicle legally registered in that state anymore. So like I said, I have a lot of experience with that place, and I've learned a lot of those laws. I've learned how they do those tests and who is doing those tests. And I think if I can share my knowledge and what I have learned with you about what they are looking for and how they are looking for it, you can make sure that you pass the test. So let's go over to a truck that I have here in the workshop, and we'll talk a little bit about those tests. So as I said, there's going to be a whole bunch of vehicles that previously were not required to pass a safety inspection or any type of emissions testing. The safety inspection stuff is pretty cut and dry, black and white, and very simple. And honestly, I don't disagree with any of it. Your lights need to work so you can see and other people can see you. Your glass needs to be in good condition. The brakes need to work. The tires need to have tread on them. Your horn needs to work so you can make noise to people around you to make sure that they know you're there. Like all of the safety inspection stuff, I mean, you can go right to the website of this state. You can print it out. You know what you need to have. You know what you don't. It is what it is, and I'm not going to have any gripes with safety stuff. But the emissions portion of it, there are evaporative emissions and there are tailpipe emissions. And they're going to be looking for this stuff basically with a visual inspection and then an electrical inspection. And the visual inspection, I'll tell you, if you have an exhaust, a complete exhaust that exits at the rear of the vehicle and isn't insanely loud or exiting under the doors or just so big you could fit a trash can into it, more than likely you're going to pass. The visual inspection is not what I would quantify as thorough. They use a mirror. It's about a 6-inch mirror on a stick. And they're going to hold that mirror down at ground level with it at a slight angle to look under your vehicle. And they're going to walk from front to back looking in that little 6-inch mirror to make sure that nothing looks wrong or out of place. They don't want to see that your muffler is dragging on the ground. They don't want to see that you actually have exhaust pipes poking out under the doors or just dumping down on the ground right below the driver's seat. They want to see that there's exhaust to the rear of the vehicle, and it should look like all of the parts are there that it came with. Catalytic converters, mufflers, all that jazz. They're not going to put the vehicle up on a lift. They're not going to drive it over a pit and go down underneath it. It is a 6-inch mirror that they walk down the side of the vehicle and see as best as they can under the vehicle from the side. That part, it's really quite simple. And I'll tell you as well, I don't think this state is giving these people enough training to really make them effective. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Basically, I don't think the state is giving them extensive automotive training to know and be able to identify through that little mirror every piece of the exhaust system that is under the truck or car or whatever it may be. Does that make sense to you? Knowing what they're looking for and how they're looking for it, I think that provides you with enough knowledge to make sure that you pass. The electrical portion, well, let's go through that too. So the electrical portion of the test. First, I want to give you a few pieces of terminology that are important here. The first one is diagnostic trouble code. Diagnostic trouble codes are what the computer in your vehicle stores if it thinks something is wrong. The computer in your vehicle is known as the powertrain control module. At least that's the one they're going to be looking at. There's a lot of computers in most vehicles nowadays, but the one that they're going to be most concerned with is the powertrain control module, the PCM. So this test, the electronic portion, they're going to have a dongle on a wire. Now I'm just using my HP Tuners interface for demonstration purposes. But the dongle will be on a wire. They'll plug it into the OBD2 port in your vehicle. Then they'll turn your vehicle's ignition key to the on position, not engine running, just ignition on. And then they will have a computer that talks and communicates with the PCM in your vehicle. And their computer is basically, it's going to ask the PCM a couple questions. The first question it's going to ask is, have you completed 20 drive cycles since the diagnostic trouble codes were cleared or reset in this vehicle? And it's a yes or no answer. It's either, yes, I've completed 38 drive cycles, or no, I've only completed 1 drive cycle. If it's a yes, then their computer will move on to the next question. If it's a no, then that will constitute a failure, and they'll give you a notice to come back and test again. You won't have to pay again, but you'll have to come back and test again. The drive cycles that it's asking about. A complete drive cycle is the vehicle being turned on with the engine running, the vehicle being driven, the engine must reach operating temperature, and then the vehicle being turned off. And that is a complete drive cycle. And that must be completed 20 times without the diagnostic trouble codes being cleared or reset for the emissions test computer to be satisfied and move on. Now, assuming you've completed your 20 drive cycles and the diagnostic trouble codes have not been reset or cleared within those 20 drive cycles, then it will ask, okay, do you have any active diagnostic trouble codes for the emission system, evaporative emissions or tailpipe emissions, or related components? The quick way to identify this, almost any of the codes it's looking for will turn on your check engine light. So if you have a check engine light, there's almost a 0% chance that you're going to pass an emissions test. There are some diagnostic trouble codes related to the emission systems that won't turn on the check engine light. So even if your check engine light is not on, you still may have diagnostic trouble codes that will cause a failure. Some of the codes that this thing is looking for are things like catalyst efficiency above threshold, evaporative emissions system leak detected, evaporative emissions purge valve out of range, oxygen sensor out of range, cylinder misfire detected, transmission shift erratic performance. What else have I seen? Oh, even something as simple as vehicle speed and engine RPM correlation out of range. And some of these things can happen and there's nothing wrong, but a weird driving situation can trigger them. I know I've seen it happen, people that have driven their vehicle in icy conditions and had a lot of wheel slip. That can cause a vehicle speed correlation to engine RPM code, and that'll make you fail an emissions test. But for the most part, that's what they're looking for. Any of those diagnostic trouble codes related to the actual evaporative or tailpipe emission system, or related to the running and operating condition of the engine and transmission. If you don't have any codes, it passes. But if you do, they'll tell you to get them fixed, complete the 20 drive cycles, and come test again. I do believe that a retest is free of charge. So if you don't have the ability to find out if you have any codes on your own, they'll tell you if you don't pass. But this is also, again, I don't think the state provides enough training to these people to know anything other than plug in and do what the computer tells them to do. They're not certified mechanics. They generally are not people with a lot of automotive background. So more than likely, they're not going to be able to tell you why you passed or did not pass. They're just going to be able to say, you did pass, you didn't pass, here's what needs to happen next. So I'm hopeful that knowing how they're going to test and what they're going to look for provides you with enough knowledge to be able to pass their tests. I can tell you from my experience in that place, I had lots of vehicles that had been modified and I had made changes to, and all of them passed the tests. Mainly because I knew how they were going to test and I knew what they were going to look for. So if I can do it, there's no reason that you can't do it also. So I think you got to keep in mind here, I'm trying to be intentionally vague, but also give you the information that you need. As pretty much anybody in the automotive hobby knows, emissions and emissions control systems in vehicles have gotten more and more and more and more and more strict in recent years, and the enforcement of those components has gotten more and more and more strict in recent years. That said, if you know how the system works and you know how the game is played, then usually you can play it and nobody's gonna bother you. So I think if you're living in this place and you're facing this problem, you know what I'm talking about. And I really hope this is helpful to you. If you have more questions, I will say, drop a comment. I'm really good about responding to comments. I think I get 99% of them within a couple days. Drop a comment and I'll try to help out as best I can. If you live in a place and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then this video probably wasn't targeted towards you and you probably don't need to worry about it, at least not right now. But having this information and this knowledge certainly can't hurt. So, I don't know, I kind of feel sorry that this wasn't more entertaining, but also I really want to try to help not only my friends, but just enthusiasts in general who are being affected by this, because it's kind of a crummy deal to give everybody, there's 5 years worth of vehicles, and a lot of these are really popular platforms to modify and change and have fun with and do things to. And they've gone from, I don't have to worry about emissions or safety inspections, now to, if I can't pass these tests, I can't enjoy this vehicle that potentially they've invested thousands and thousands of dollars into. So I hope this helps, guys. I really do. And again, if you have more questions, if you really feel like you're one of the people that I'm trying to speak to in this video, put it in the comments or get a hold of me. You can find me through Instagram, and I'll try to help you out as best I can. And for everybody else that's stuck around, even if this doesn't pertain to you, thanks a lot for your patience and watching. And hopefully, if nothing else, I shared a little bit of knowledge with you. And in the next video, we're getting back to the K5. My goal for next video is to get the engine into the truck. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.